Residents and holidaymakers have been ordered to evacuate an area on the Italian flanks of Mont Blanc as a huge glacier is on the edge of collapsing. The glacier, roughly equivalent to the size of 200 Olympic swimming pools, is at risk of breaking off near the popular ski resort of Courmayeur. Heat is being blamed for the possible collapse. The area was just reopening for the summer season after remaining closed throughout the coronavirus lockdown. Firefighters and forest rangers are on the scene to help. Well, let's cross over to Rome, where we speak to our correspondent Georgia Alandi, who's been on this glacier last year. First of all, Georgia, what do we know about the current state of the glacier?
Hi, Oliver. Well, the situation seems to be pretty much under control. Now, as a result of the warning that was given last Wednesday by local authorities, two zones were created. A red one, which is much more at risk, that is at the very bottom of the valley in the proximity of the glacier, and an orange one, which is less at risk, meaning that is less likely to be being impacted by the potential collapse of that block of ice. Now, people living within those two areas, as you mentioned there, we're talking about 75 people had to leave their homes. Among them, lots of tourists given the season, but also the main road crossing the valley was closed to traffic and pedestrians. Now, I had the chance to speak to one expert who's been monitoring the glacier, who told me that it seems that parameters are slightly going back to normal. Now, that doesn't mean that the collapse won't happen at all, but it's less likely that the collapse will happen, although he said that it's crucial to keep monitoring the situation for the next 24 hours, Oliver.
Now, last year when you were on the glacier, it was around September, October time, if I'm not wrong. This year, the problem seems to be happening quite earlier. Is there anything to do with the heat wave that we're currently going through, and what's the difference between this year and last year?
Well, yes, Oliver. Well, the glacier mass in question has been moving by around 1 meter in the past few days. But what experts who've been monitoring the speed at which the ice is melting since 2013 noticed in the past few hours is that there is a much faster movement that is due to an anomalous temperature trends. In other words, there has been a sudden change in temperatures from low to high in a very short period of time. And that has triggered this specific type of movement, something very similar that we saw and that reported on back in September when following a 150,000 cubic meters of ice were potentially going to fall down the valley. But the main difference between then and now is in the size, in the sense that this block of ice is much bigger. We're talking about 500,000 cubic meters of ice that could potentially slide off the Plampinser Glacier. That equals to the size of Milan's Duomo Cathedral. But also, according to experts, this block of ice is much more detached from the rest compared to the situation that we saw back in September. And also it seems that the sliding is being helped by the presence of a lot of water underneath that block of ice, Oliver.
Georgia Alandi joining us there from Rome. Thanks very much, and apologies for the connection that we suffered there.